pretty quick. We could be live right now. It could be 1 or 2 second delay.
I think we're live.
Okay, cool. We're live in the Mortgage Loan Officer Network with Fisher, TJ Barker, our good friend Zach Sullivan in Colorado. What part of Colorado is it, Zach? Is it Fort Collins or?
It's just southwest, so just north of Denver, about 30 minutes. It's actually our office is in Broomfield that we move into here in about 30 days. So
cool, man.
Oh, so you decided to go back into an office? You've given up on the working virtually?
I am losing my mind working virtually, and I actually purchased a building, and I'm putting all of our team in there, and they better be ready to work. So
nice, man. Well, hey, I met Zach when you were just kind of a newbie, man, right? Like you were just almost starting the business. But
yeah, I think I was 4 months in.
Yeah, you were like 4 months in, but you had this mind for business. Like you were going to go to masterminds, you were going to study marketing, you're going to hang out with as many people that have been there and done that. And, you know, you and I were going to these masterminds that cost quite a bit of money. And I'm like, who is this guy? He's like brand new. And it was unusual to see new people trying to kind of dive in at that level. And, you know, I always thought it was cool to see somebody who couldn't really talk the talk yet, but yet you did kind of talk the talk because you'd already been studying and paying attention to what was going on. And, you know, I think you adapted pretty darn quick. You know, here we are years later. We're still good friends. We talk a lot. But I think the way you built your business is maybe slightly different. But there's a lot of similarities, too, in all the things that we do. And TJ and I have been watching you. We said, man, we got to get Zach here. We got to talk to MLO Net about some of the things, not really secrets, but things that Zach does that he's really good at, and I think a lot of people in the top producer position are good at. But I like the way you do it, man. So I promised TJ I was going to talk less, and I've already screwed that up. I'm going to hand it over to him. He can say some stuff, and then you guys will talk for a while.
Hey, I appreciate that, Fish. I like actually being a part of these calls. So. But now I'm excited because actually you introduced Zach to me. So, you know, kind of about a year ago or so. And, you know, Zach and I, we knew of each other, but we didn't really know each other. And over the last year or so, I think we've become pretty good friends. We've learned a lot about each other, both professionally and personally. So I was excited to get Zach on here because, again, that story you just told. So most people know me, right, as the Facebook ads guy, right? Every time someone's like, hey, we need more leads. Right, I get tagged in there, which, by the way, I appreciate that, everybody. I really do. But here's the thing that what I found out about working with, you know, several hundred loan officers, you know, Fisher included, myself included. It's never that you need more leads, right? Leads are simple. You need to know how to utilize those leads to build a profitable business. And there's so many people and there's so many things that are on the market that, you know, promise the world. You know, I always say that they promise they're going to take a Facebook account and turn it into an ATM machine or something, just printing out 1003s for you. And that's not the case. But I've never seen anyone or met anyone who has done that quite like Zach has. And I told Zach, I promised when we hopped on here, I wasn't going to, you know, share his secrets, his secret recipe, essentially, that he has for what he does. But we are going to talk a little bit about the strategy and the concepts of what he does and how he takes these simple Facebook ads, right? Not long form, complicated 15-question, custom conversion, building out the pixel, whatever other terminology you want to have right out there. He just takes these simple Facebook ads and combines them with old school discipline sales strategies and systems to have built a thriving business here. So I'm excited, Zach. Again, I appreciate your friendship, I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you joining us here. If you don't mind, kind of just share for the MLO Net members who don't know you, just a little bit about who you are, what your business is, all that type of good stuff.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. You know, I took kind of a different road than a lot of people. So I actually started out in the credit repair business where we would go and we met with 10, 20, 30 loan officers a week trying to get all the credit repair business. and it was absolutely miserable. And I look back and I think, what in the world was I doing? But it also helped me realize that, there was a lot at that time, there was a lot of loan officers, and a lot of them didn't do much. And so it kind of is what kind of jumped me into, hey, I need to look at getting into this mortgage industry because, there's a lot of potential here. So I had a good buddy who opened up a branch of a company called Mountain West Financial in Broomfield, Colorado. And he's like, hey, go get your license. At the time, I was running a foreclosure business, flipping foreclosed homes and that sort of stuff in Vegas, doing manual work in 120-degree heat. And I said, okay, let's try something else. And so we ended up moving back to Colorado, got my license in about 3.5 weeks, and kind of jumped right into it. And in all honesty, like Fisher was saying, is I didn't know the first thing about mortgages. My first deal was an absolute nightmare. I had to call a good buddy of mine. There was an investment property for him. He was in Europe on vacation with his family, and I had to call him and say, hey, sorry, I messed up. You're going to need another $20,000 at the closing table. So it was rough, really rough to start. I burnt a lot of bridges with real estate agents just because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have the support at the time. And so I kind of shot myself in the foot of not being able to go after the real estate agents. So I said, I'm going to have to figure out another way to go about this, and started looking into a lot of the social media. At that time, it was mostly like groups and pages. And I started really getting a lot of people that were reaching out just by posting open houses. They didn't even have Facebook Ads Manager back then. It was only, hey, you can boost this post. And that was it. And so, I kind of started messing around with that and starting to get leads coming in. And at that time, I was like, I really don't want to work with real estate agents. I don't enjoy them jumping around from loan officer to loan officer of who's willing to pay Zillow. And I didn't have the money to kick into Zillow, and my branch manager wouldn't kick any of that in. So I really started getting into a lot of the Facebook. And that's how I ended up, meeting Fisher was in Vegas, going through some of that. And it was probably, Fish, I don't want to say it was a great adventure to learn there, but by any means, but actually
Vegas is not always the best learning environment.
Yeah, to say the least. And actually, there was someone in the class that we were in that actually taught me a lot more than the people who we were paying to see.
My friend Clayton was in that.
Yep, Clayton was in there. And the big one that I had worked with was Rob. At the time, I really didn't know a ton about Facebook, and he was, like you said, talking about pixels and retargeting and videos, and I was like, hey man, like I just need some mortgage deals. Like, you can do whatever you want, but I just need to get some mortgage deals out of this. And slowly over time, there's been a lot of people that have kind of helped and said, here's how to actually run Facebook ads, and I've tried their stuff, I've tried my stuff, I've tried other people's stuff. But the big thing is just been understanding how to get those leads coming in and how to leverage them. We don't work with a lot of real estate agents. Probably at least, I would say on the low side, 60 to 70% of our business we generate ourselves. And last year we closed right under 150 million for all of our branches. So, the biggest part is trying to filter through the leads. I've had a call center.
Let's get the story straight. Like, when I met you almost 5 years ago, you had zero. 0 times 0 plus 0 divided
exactly.
by 0.
Yep. And I've tried the call center rep. I've tried having loan officers work it. I literally work it myself. I've got 5 computer screens here that I've got my CRM up, and I'm texting all day long. But the biggest key to it is really being able to generate and filter the leads that are coming in, to be able to schedule appointments for loan officers.
So let's back up real quick here. So you said that your team, you did just under 100 million.
Just under 150
million
last year.
My bad. So, and how many folks are on your team?
So I have 2 junior loan officers, and they handle all of, I don't take applications unless it's a friend or a family member.
Right.
And then I have 1 other loan officer that's based out of California, loan officer / branch manager. She does a lot of production on her own. I'm getting her to slowly buy into the lead generation. And then I've got a processor and a processing assistant, and that's it.
So that group right there, you just said that you had, 70% of it is consumer direct, basically. So that's 100 and 105, 110 approximately that you built with a team that is you, a couple of juniors, and you said, what, 2 other loan officers and some support team, right? And it's going directly out to the consumer.
Yep. Yeah, our goal is we are trying to, at minimum, we're trying to take 20 applications a week is our goal per state.
And you're what, Colorado, California, Nevada?
Arizona, Idaho, and just opened Florida.
Nice.
So
That's terrible.
So
yeah, well, you're going to love it because even though Fish doesn't want me to share it, as I have no, interest in Florida right now. Florida's one of the best states to market Facebook ads in. Like, it's nuts. It's nuts. Like, it's like old school Facebook. You just put something out there, and everyone's like, yeah, of course I want to buy a house, right?
Everyone's moving there anyway. So
tell me a little bit about kind of the concept, right? So you have your junior LOs that you've tried the call centers, you've done this, right? You obviously have a ton of contacts and inquiries. People are, whatever your ad is, people are seeing it, they're opting into it, asking for more information, right? So they're basically raising their hand, they're giving you a name, an email, and a phone number, right? Are they giving you estimated credit scores, income, where they want to buy, like, are they filling out 15 questions here?
Nope, none of that. It's name, phone number, and email.
Okay.
That's
and then
all I'm getting in.
Yep. So, and then from there, what's your team do?
So we have a lot of scripted templates for responses. Our biggest thing is it's a lot of down payment assistance, a lot of VA, a lot of first responder, everything that we're marketing to. But our main goal is we need to find out within the first 3 responses what city they're looking to buy in, what their estimated credit score is, and what their annual income is. Within those 3, I'll know whether or not we need to schedule a phone call for our loan officer or our junior loan officer, or if they need to go to credit repair, or if they need to go into a drip system. So it's been a long, hard road kind of learning that you need those 3 things up front. Now, there's always going to be people that have, other circumstances of out of a bankruptcy or foreclosure or something along those lines. We had loan officers that were spending so much time on the phone calling leads that they were talking to each client for 30 to 45 minutes. And then at the end of that 45 minutes, that lead was saying, oh, I did have a bankruptcy last year. Well, great. I just wasted 45 minutes. So I don't allow them to call those clients on the phone anymore until we have that.
I think that's one of the hardest things that I deal with myself is oftentimes the salespeople, right? We're so built into the whole, building rapport, get into a conversation, doing business with people that we know, like, and trust, getting people to like us, wanting to help. But when you take this quality as in the quantity approach, you have to be speaking to a lot of people at any one time. And you can't speak to 50 people a day or whatever your numbers are, 25 people a day, if you're spending 45 minutes to an hour with each person. You're only be able to speak to 5 people a day. And if you can't help any of those people, you're screwed. So going in there,
how valuable time is. It's just the time piece is the piece you just can't create more of. And even if you're not doing systems like Zach, that concept spills over into everything you do. Like, we have a newer LOA on our team, and she's pretty solid, but she was working one of her first self-employed deals a couple days ago. And I had to stop her and say, hey, before you spend all this time uploading to loan calculators and go through all these worksheets, take the most recent tax return, flip it open, and look at these lines. And okay, so you've looked at those lines. What do they say? They basically show 0 negative numbers. So you don't want to spend an hour doing all the math when you know what you're going to get. You have to. There's all kinds of different parts in the process where you need to put those filters in place to make sure that you've got people in the right spots, like you said, Zach.
It's tough. I've got a couple of the junior LOs that they have the credit knowledge and the credit background, And as soon as they see a low credit score come in, they still want to hop on the phone and talk about credit. And I'm like, do not hop on the phone. That needs to go straight to credit repair. If they come back, we know they're motivated and we'll talk with them.
Yep.
It's hard. It's hard. Unless, like, we try to do the same thing on our team, unless it's like a personal friend.
Yeah, exactly. A little different on some of those. But, if we're getting that many leads in a day, if we can schedule 4 to 5 appointments of people that we know that meet that credit score criteria, the income criteria, and location wise, even if only 2 of those qualify a day, you're still looking at 10 pre-approvals a week. I mean, that's great numbers for what we're shooting for. So.
Right. No, that's killer. I mean, I said, you nailed it right there, especially with a small team, right? So you've got a small team that you're focusing on getting rid of the 70% right off the bat that aren't going to speak to you, aren't really interested, don't qualify, etc. So the team can focus on really, and then truly becoming a salesperson and truly becoming a mortgage professional with these people who do need the time. And I hate to use the term deserve the time because it sounds like the other people don't, but right. Yeah. But deserve the time, right? They've taken care of their credit enough potentially that they qualify to purchase a home. So one of the things you mentioned, and a lot of people rolled their eyes at, was you run a lot of down payment assistance ads. So, everyone's like, oh my God, no, DPA is awful. I think I love down payment assistance ads, because you have access to a program, right? Whether it's a company program, a state program, whether you're going to AFR, and everyone's like, yeah, but that program sucks. I'm like, yeah, it does. Who cares? Like, but the point is, you're running, an ad that is designed to get people to raise their hand and request to have a conversation with a member of your team. Correct?
Correct.
So, and that allows you to pull in more information, more data. Fisher always says that leads, what you and I oftentimes refer to as leads, are just data. He's like, that's not a lead yet. That's a name and a phone number and an email. Until you have a conversation with them, it's not a lead. So you're pulling in that data. You're letting the team essentially scrub that information out within the first 2 or 3 minutes. Then you're having your prospecting calls and your sales conversations, correct?
Exactly. Yep, that's 100%. And I will say that a large majority of our down payment assistance people come in. I mean, we're in Colorado. You can't buy a house for under 450, right. 500,000 here. So it's getting more difficult. But at the same time, a lot of people just don't have the knowledge, and they think, oh, there's no way I can buy a house. Well, they've got a $30,000 401k over here, or they've got a gift that a family member is willing to give them. And a lot of those down payment assistance ads will turn into, a straight conventional or a straight FHA loan. And people just don't realize it because they don't understand.
I think what I found out a lot of time is with the down payment assistance programs, folks don't realize that there's income limitations. Right? Yep. These income limitations are still kind of like incomes from 10 years ago. So all of a sudden, you're pulling a total household income where husband makes 60, wife makes 70.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, that's great. Unfortunately, you don't qualify. Good news is, though, you've both been at your job for 5 years. You got a 401k. You can borrow against that 401k. We don't have to hold it against you. You can pay yourself back. You can purchase a home with 3.5% down, right? Exactly. Or you can purchase a home with 3% down because you got excellent credit, something like that. So I think that, a lot of people who are looking into advertising or going consumer direct miss that concept. All they focus on is, I don't want to do CDA. It's a tougher borrower. We don't get paid anything, something of that nature, right? But to me, I think it's such a great anything that you can go down that path that can grab someone, grab their attention, make them raise their hand and say, yes, I want to speak to you about this. I think that's a great way to go about this, as long as you actually have something to offer, right? So,
and I'm now getting to the point where a lot of those first-time home buyers that have purchased in the last 2 or 3 years, have the equity in the house in Colorado and Vegas and those areas now, to where they're reaching back out to us because I was the only one that put the time in to talk to them initially, and they're wanting to either upgrade or downgrade their house or sell, take the money out, but they're going to be buying something again. So they're coming back to me and they don't need that down payment assistance anymore. And now they're coming back to me and they're saying, hey, our agent may not have been great, but you guys were awesome. Do you know someone who can help me list? And I'm like, perfect. You know, right then and there, I'm using that leverage as one, I'm getting the deal back, but two, I'm also reaching out to agents of, hey, you know, what personal deals do you have to send me? So.
I love it. TJ and I have used that strategy and talked about that for years, like the value proposition to agents. What is your value proposition? And if you're out there hitting that many leads and talking to that many past clients, how many other loan officers even have the chance to send that much business back to agents in a given year?
Exactly. Yep. And it makes a big difference. You know, a lot of those come back to us. Now, we do quite a bit of marketing now on the follow-up with past clients of, you know, HomeBot and Boomerang and a bunch of other stuff. But, you know, I would say don't turn away those down payment assistance people, because most of them are probably the most grateful, and they're going to be coming back to you. They're going to send you friends who have money and don't need down payment assistance.
Right. And look, honestly, if you're a core person or a Zenix person and you don't know what you're going to talk about, how much easier is it to make that call and be like, you know, we actually hand out pre-approved buyers. Yeah. So we'll get you 1 to 2 pre-approved buyers, you know, per year, 4 to 6 pre-approved buyers per year. Like you can do that. You can legitimately pick up the phone right now, pretty much. I would say call any agent in, you know, your area and say, look, we go and bring our own clients. We pre-approve them. You know, we have the ability to go ahead and actually hand business out, share business with you. And we've got the track record to prove it, by the way. So we did $105 million that was self-sourced consumer direct business last year. So who else has the ability to do that? You know, exactly. And then if you're going to have that, you know, that lunch, or not the lunch, or you know, the coffee, you know, where you sit down and meet with someone, you talk on Zoom, you're coming from a completely different position than every other loan officer who's calling up to hear what makes them so awesome.
Yep.
Hey, I want to find out what makes you so awesome. Can I learn about your business? They're like, yeah, I guess so. You're calling up like, hey, do you want to close 4 to 6 extra loans this year or deals this year? Because I got you.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's been a tough road, you know, still, even with that, finding the agents that are motivated, that are going to return the deals, because they really don't believe you when you say, right, hey, I'll hand you 1 deal for every, you know, 2 or 3 that you send me, since you're making so much more. But, you know, the biggest thing is a lot of them are like, oh, this is going to be a one-time thing. And I'll give an agent a deal, no problem, all day long. You know, if they don't come back to me with something, they're not getting another one. Like, well, how many real estate agents are there? Why would I continue to work? And I've had that struggle on a couple different ones. You know, we've given 8, 10, 12, 14 deals to an agent in a year, and they kind of stopped. I don't want to say stopped networking, but stopped going after, and kind of lost that drive because we were just feeding them deals all year long. And, you know, some of them were good friends that I was working with, and I was like, hey, unfortunately, like, you're just kind of living off of us now, and we aren't going to be able to go down that road anymore. So I'm going to have to find another agent unless you can start producing on your side.
Right. Hell, at that point, you might as well just hire them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, hey, guess what? I just opened up my own EXP. You now work for me if I want to go ahead and do this for you. So it's cool. So
you brought up something, Zach, and you know, I don't want to interrupt you, but I think we talked about this before we did the call. And it's that transition period, that period where you were learning guidelines, learning marketing, all this kind of stuff. And, you know, now you got all these assistants, and you try really hard to delegate. Like, how do you push through those phases without losing your mind? I mean, what kind of key activities or systems did you really find valuable as you were going down that path?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of the tough stuff has been taken on by a lot of my ops. She's amazing. I won't say her name because I don't want anybody in here calling her, texting her, emailing her, or even thinking of calling her.
James Smith.
Yeah. But she's phenomenal. I mean, all of our ops are great. You know, I want my loan officers and my junior loan officers out selling. I don't want them doing the ops side of it. So putting some of those systems in place as far as, hey, here's what the junior LO needs to do. Here's what the processing team is doing. Has helped out a ton. Not to say fires don't come up. I mean, honestly, I usually tell them out of every 10 files you have, 20 to 25% of those are going to be fires, or something's going to come up last minute. So if you're at 50 deals a month, be prepared to work on 10 fires a month. But a lot of it is just structure of knowing who does what, you know, whose job role is what. I recently put together a pretty lengthy checklist of who needs to be doing what, whether it's the junior LO, whether it's the loan officer assistant, whether it's the processor. and we're really trying to stick to that this year. It took me a long time to really put those systems in place. It used to just kind of be like, hey guys, I'm going to go generate leads. You're going to close the deals. You're going to do the ops and the processing. And that was great. It worked. But I also have, people that are working 80 hours a week, stressed out, not happy, and I know they're getting burned out. And so, that was kind of our goal this year is, I want to close more than we did last year, but I also don't want people working 24/7 because I know sooner or later you're going to get burned out on it.
Love it. That's a perfect answer. I mean, you would think I wrote that for you. I did.
Take some credit there, Archifish.
Well, we have similar challenges, and I know TJ and I talk about these things all the time. I mean, I was just suggesting some resources for TJ, just yesterday. And, for anybody watching, I'm trying to get as many of our team involved in what Scott Groves is doing with the LOAs and some of the junior loan officers, because it's got, the expectations. Here's what the realtor expects. Here's what the borrower expects. This is how you manage your day. And so, I'm pushing a lot of people towards that program. Yep. Scott and I are friends, but it's those kind of things that I think a lot of us miss along the way as we grow. And some of us who rise to these higher positions, as you just admitted, we do it because we don't give up. We work hard, and we're like, we wear this badge of honor. I'm working around the clock. My team's working around the clock. We're hustling. We're grinding. And at the end of the day, eventually you're like, man, there's got to be a better way, because some people are doing this without as much energy. I've heard rumors, So.
And it was hard to get out of that mindset. I mean, when I first came on, I was 24/7. Saturday night at 10 p.m. I was, marketing. Hey, I'm still working. Who needs a pre-approval? Now I'm like, don't call me on Saturday. I will not answer my.
I sent you a Colorado lead on like a Sunday night.
Yeah.
You're the only person I knew in Colorado.
Yeah. And it's hard for me to remember that, that mindset when I started with, not everybody has that same mindset. So trying to push that on to people can get really tough, because, you're kind of telling them, hey, sorry, I know you have a family, but quit what you're doing. And it doesn't work. And it shouldn't be that way. I mean, realistically. So, kind of, we run super thin right now, and I'm in the process of trying to hire more ops and more junior loan officers and loan officer assistants. Not so much just because I want to double and triple production. Realistically, this year we should be about 180 to 200 million. We're always purchase-based. We don't do a ton of refinances. But I also want all of my team to be working normal work hours this year as well.
That generates loyalty, right? So
Definitely.
If you generate loyalty where you're giving people the appropriate balance of professional and personal life, where you're providing a great living for them at the same time, you're not going to have that person who's like, I know what Zach does. I'm going to go ahead and go over here and try to take him on or do the same thing. So I one of the things that I have found over the years for myself personally is I tell Fish this all the time, and I freely admit it. I'm a great number two, right? I'm a great second in charge. Like I'm a great vice president type of thing. So like, whenever I have tried to be number one, I have struggled and have not done well, in any of my businesses. So, but when I have been the number two guy, I've done extremely, extremely well.
Yep.
And the problem has been when people, the number one person hasn't treated me, not necessarily as an equal, but hasn't treated me fairly, I've always felt like I can go be that number one guy, which is problems. But when I have been like I am now, John treats me very good, right? He's very good to me and, shares information with me and seeks my opinion. Like, I'm so happy and content being the person that I am. And in the spot that I am, like, I have no plans to ever leave him. He might change his mind on that, but like, there's something about, again, someone who builds that kind of, that structure and, that approach in their business, that if you can keep people loyal to you, everybody wins. And that sounds like the approach that you're going for.
Definitely. And a lot of the people, I try and hire as far as strengths that I know that I don't have. Like, I'm great at sales and relationship building. I'm horrible at customer service. I'll be the first one to tell you, and that's what my team is great at, is that, they're making sure that they're picking up the phone call before they leave to the day to respond to everybody's voicemails. Like, I can pull my phone up. I've probably got 20 voicemails in there that are over a week old that I still need to respond to. But so, kind of finding, like you said, your counterpart of if you're not going to be that number one, do everything that you're good at for that number two, and then hire everything else out for it. And that's what, I mean, my team's customer service is great. That's probably why we're starting to get a lot of the repeat business. You know, and I really thank them for that, because without them, I couldn't do it. I mean, there's no way I could talk to people on the phone and explain every little document anymore like I used to have to do. So
look at when someone proves like a traditional industry thought wrong. Like the traditional industry thought was you always got to answer your phone. Like I was taught that so many times. Like you always got to answer your phone, always got to be available, got to return every voicemail in 2 minutes. And I mean, you clearly proved that you can produce without having that burden, that noose around your neck, where that phone just owns you.
Definitely. And there's times where I know, you know, like if the ops manager is calling and you know, she needs something, like if she's calling, there's a reason she's calling. I need to drop what I'm doing to make sure that I take care of that fire, because she takes care of 99% of every other fire. So it's something important.
Can I ask a tough question? You already kind of answered it earlier, but you know, are your customers usually pretty happy? I mean, you're not running the kind of operation where it's like you close them and they're pissed off, and you know, everyone. Because I know there are haters that are come in and say, "Well, he doesn't take care of his customers as well as I do." You know.
No, I mean, you can check our Google reviews. I mean, our reviews. It's like everybody. You know, every once in a while, you're going to have a first-time home buyer who quits their job or something the day before closing, or you know, goes and buys a new car. You know, we definitely have those come up. But we have great reviews. We have repeat business coming in. You know, we're starting to generate more referral partners that I really don't even want, but you know, there's a lot more coming in, and a lot of that is based off of the customer service that the clients do get. You know, we attend closings still. You know, any and all closings. We're bringing closing gifts. I've got a VA closing tomorrow. He's got a custom flag coming to him, and that goes out to every single one. So, you know, the majority of our clients, I'm going to say, are definitely happy.
I got to shout out to you for some of the conversations you and I had about owning the 1003 and mastering, you know, products and things like that. Because I knew early on in your career, you already kind of admitted that you struggled with that, and you realized how important that was. But, you know, like you said, you hired operations and LOAs and teams like that, but you never really took your pulse off of what was going on. Like, you still know how these things work pretty well, and you can kind of jump in and solve these problems as the leader of the team. You know, like, hey, there's this fire, I can help fix it. I know how to fix it. I'm not just going to say, oh, Zach's going to disappear and, you know, ride his boat until this fire is gone.
Definitely. And that's something that kind of is weird, but I kind of enjoy solving those problems. Like if something comes up and, you know, our DTI is a little high, or an underwriter, you know, doesn't like something, like to me, I'm like, oh, sweet, let's go solve that problem and figure it out, you know, what we need to do, or, you know, can we structure this, or can I add extra, you know, bonus income, or, you know, that sort of stuff I actually don't mind doing. I'm very competitive, so, you know, I don't like losing deals.
That's when you reach out to me with those kind of questions. You hit up teams, figure out how to do more and stuff, and your CRM and all that. But.
So there's, you know, there's a lot of different parts where I know that I excel at, and I know that there's parts that I don't excel at. You know, if it's arguing with an underwriter, I'm going to let my ops team do that, because they know how to say it in the right way. They know what to say, and, you know, they can build that relationship. Whereas, you know, if it's me, I'm just coming in like, what the heck, what are you doing? Like, you know, and it's not always the informational response that it should be. So, you know, knowing those lanes of where I should go and where I shouldn't go has definitely helped too.
So let's, so we're about 40 minutes into this. So I kind of want to we've talked about a lot of great stuff here, right? So I want to kind of pull it back in here, button this up a little bit. But before we do that, you know, when you talk about kind of your Google reviews and the level of service that you provide and the experience that you provide for your clients, are there any systems or any strategies or any tools that you utilize to really to provide that? Or is it just your team knows what to do and you have a structure and you follow it?
You know, I think it's really more of just our structure of, we know who does what on the loan process. We always do an introduction to the other team member. So, you know, if it's going from our junior loan officer to our processing team, there's an introduction email sent out and an introduction text, so that, you know, when the processor reaches out, it's not like, hey, who the heck is this asking me for privacy documents? Right. So the introduction, I think, is a big part of it. The other big system we have is updates to the clients. So, and it's going to sound weird, but we don't really give updates every single time something comes in. It's a Friday update that goes out at 4 o'clock. It goes out to all parties. Buyer's agent, seller's agent, and the buyer themselves, letting them know what's going on, where the file's at, what's going to be happening in the following week. I really like those to go out on a Friday. That way the agents and the buyers aren't calling you on Saturday and Sunday asking you what's going on. So some of those small pieces I think really helps out with the customer service of them not wondering what's going on with the file or why is this weird person calling me. We don't have any secret technology or anything along the lines. We've got the standard LOS system they can upload their docs to. We do a lot of online applications. I'll be honest, I'm pushing as much as I can for my team to do online applications. That helps with the filtering part of, not really picking up an application until we know that they're qualified. But you still do, they remind me daily that, you still got to be on the phone to build that relationship. So I can't argue with them. They're good at what they do, so I let them have that. But there's really no secret sauce to it. It's just kind of making sure that everyone's taken care of, communicate, making sure everyone's informed. And that's really the biggest part.
It's a sign of a good leader, though, that you're taking the input from your team. Even though you say, I want this, they're like, we can do that, but we still need to keep our focus on this because this is what we're really good at, and this is what generates that wow service and those rave reviews.
Definitely. And it's hard for me to step back sometimes because, like I said, I'm not customer service oriented.
Right.
So when they come back and say, hey, no, we need to do this on a closing gift, or, our appraisal took an extra 2 days and, we need to, get them something extra or make sure that we make up for it somewhere else. I'm like, hey, I'm totally on board with that.
Right.
So.
All right. So let's real quick put kind of like a recap of the Zach Sullivan system, right? Like when you decide to go ahead and officially get out of this, and you create your infomercial, right? Like how to become a mortgage, top 1% mortgage loan officer in 5 years or less type of thing. It's going to start off. You almost have the sales funnel approach in your business,
Definitely.
right? So you're going to start off all the way at the top, right here, and you are just pumping names, emails, and phone numbers into that, right? You're just trying to get put your message out there, get as many people to opt in to your, or to whatever your message is, to whatever your offer is, as possible. You just want those contacts.
Yep. We're trying to build up a database as big as we can.
Then from there, you're filtering them down. The first thing is you're trying to, now is it email, is it text message, it's your junior LOs who's making contact with these people? Is it all of the above? Like, you're just trying to make contact.
Correct. So I'll give you kind of a secret. 99% of our communication is all through texting. We're not on the phone until we have the filtered information. So the CRM is where all of our leads go into, all of our automation is built out, and all of our follow-up is into.
Shameless plug, Zach uses the same system we do. So just in Lead Academy, just
100%. Exactly. Same one.
So you're getting in there. So you're allowing the system to kind of do some filtering out. Obviously, you've got your team, which is responding to that as well. Somebody responds back. They're asking those few questions. At that point, then it's time to go ahead and you're hopping on a call. You schedule an appointment. What's the kind of the next step with that?
Yep. So once they meet those qualifying factors, we're scheduling an appointment in the calendar for one of the junior loan officers to call them, take the application, go through everything. This sounds weird, but I try and ask them to limit that call to 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes, it should be enough to get an application and enough to start on the pre-qualification to know whether or not we need to spend time with them.
So that's things that you've spoken about a lot. And I've had you on a lot of these calls over the last year or so in Leads Academy, but you've always talked about putting time limits or time expectations on these initial calls for your team. 3 minutes on that first call. Right? If someone's on the phone, someone says, I want to talk to you, it's 3 minutes unless you can verify they've got income, where they're looking, what their credit scores are.
Definitely.
With their initial interview with your junior LO, 15 minutes. 15 minutes allows you to get the basic information you need, begin the application, get it in, or take the information you need, and go ahead and go to the next spot or move on to the next point in the process.
Yep, exactly.
Now, do you measure any efficiencies for your team? Or you're measuring anything like, like their total time on the calls, like their total calls per day? Do you have goals for that?
So I don't, and I haven't been tracking a lot of it. The problem is we've all been working remote. Right. So I don't have anybody in an office. but I will have something as soon as we get back into the office wise to be able to go over, length of calls, how many appointments did you have a day, how much time did you spend on the good appointments, how much time did you spend on the bad appointments.
I think if you do that, you won't even have to add any additional lead generation to your business. I think if you do that, what will happen is you'll become more efficient. You'll be able to notice any deficiencies you have in the current system and have higher conversion ratios with the existing amount of leads that are coming in, where you won't even need to increase them.
Yep.
So
no, it totally makes sense. It's just hard to get a lot of people to buy into that of, I'm in the middle of a conversation and I'm like, you got to wrap it up. You got to get that conversation over with. So,
yep. So, and then from there, once you have the application, it's just a matter of being good mortgage loan officers, right?
Yeah. So we've kind of got a team aspect. So once an application comes in, the processing assistant is pulling the VOE right away so that we can get income dialed in, get that part taken care of. The junior LOs doing the income calcs, requesting the initial documents, and pretty much doing all the follow up until that pre-approval is complete.
We send you the plane ticket. The question we always end these with, right? We send you out the plane ticket. You come out here to Maryland. You're starting over again. Your wife says, "Hell no, I'm staying in Colorado." I'm keeping the kids, and you're like, "Okay, sweet. This is going to work out for both of us, right?" So, you come out here and you're starting fresh. What are you doing?
I mean, lead generation to start in order to pick up those referral partners. Get as much as you can within your budget. I'm a big believer of, if you can put money into that marketing budget and keep your overhead low somewhere else, but doing lead generation, start filtering leads, start offering to work with real estate partners and generating leads for them. But to me, that's where it's headed. That's where everyone's headed. Zillow obviously is trying to take that market over, but building that database, that's the big thing for me is once you have that database of 50, 60,000 people that have opted into leads, like you're remarketing to that database, for no cost because it's your database, you own it.
Right. Yep. And something typically when someone opts in on a Facebook forum, they may give you a fake phone number, but they're giving you a real email. Right. They're giving you a real email. And that's a valuable piece of information right there. Whether it's for email marketing whether it's for creating lookalike audiences, whether it's for retargeting somebody, with your video content that you spoke about earlier today, that is a valuable piece of information right there.
And I'll tell you with the email addresses, we don't do a ton of email, but I will give you another secret is if you guys are taking closing photos, you should be emailing that out to your entire database every single month. There's nothing more that they see as a validation factor of other people closing and buying on houses than closing photos of people.
You shared one of your secrets. I swore I wasn't going to share, so that is on you. So, Fish, you got anything? Any last questions or anything for Zach?
Now, the only thing I would ask Zach is you mentioned you would go to another city. Would you buy any courses or recommend any programs or tell somebody to go to a certain place to get started down that?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Obviously, the Facebook information. Don't try and do it on your own. It took me 2.5, 3 years to learn and a lot of money that I spent on Facebook ads. Take the time, sign up for TJ's courses, get in there, use his CRM, let him teach you how to use that automation and that follow-up. It'll save you 2 years and probably $100,000 in ad spend of trying to learn how to do ads.
I appreciate that. This Fisher, that was a great setup. Zach, I mean, he took that one right down the middle of the plate. I'm grateful for that. The last thing I would ask you, just as we wrap this up, buddy, to everyone who tells you that Facebook ads suck, what would you say?
I mean, they can say it as long as they want, but either way, this summer I'm going to be surfing by my boat, and it's Facebook ads that probably put me there. So,
well, cool, man. Hey, we really appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time. Everyone who's watching this, we appreciate you joining us. This has been maybe it's because it's a good friend of mine, and this is my wheelhouse. This has been probably my favorite one that we've done since we've relaunched the Success Series here. I'll tell everyone that's watching this, again, you don't need to join Leads Academy. You can go on YouTube. You can watch the free training we have here in Leads Academy with some of this basic stuff, and you can follow Zach's template. Just generate a lot of prospects, and then more importantly, you got to follow up on those pieces of data. right? You got to follow up on those pieces of data, turn them into a prospect, and turn that prospect into a lead, and turn that lead into a client. You just do that 10 times a day. 5 years from now, you'll be sitting in the same spot that Zach is. So, Zach, my friend, hey, congratulations on your success. No secret to it. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of determination, believing in yourself, investing in your team. Fish and I thank you so much for joining us here, for supporting MLO Net in our various projects as you have, my friend.
Definitely. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Fish, I'll let you wrap this one up, man. Take us home.
See you guys. We love y'all. We'll talk soon.